We are at the historic Vermont College of Fine Arts in Montpelier, Vermont. I'm the president of the college, the founding president of the college, and I'm a novelist. I've always been a storyteller, and I'd always loved to read. And I was reading, I can't remember exactly the book, but I was reading a book and thought maybe I should do this. And I went back to school and I took a creative writing class, and I decided I had a knack for it, and I've never turned back. And there's nothing more satisfying than working on a novel, particularly when you have a job like running a college, because it's almost like, although my literary life is a really important part of what I do, in some ways I'm still a tinkerer at night in the garage. I'm no different than someone building model airplanes. I'm just crafting a 280-page novel that people will hopefully read and enjoy a year from now. So the building behind us was actually erected in 1868. And for years, this was a women's undergraduate college. In 2006, the campus was in danger of closing. There were established MFA programs here, and so I led an effort with the faculty and staff of the college to take the institution independent, form it into a fine arts college, which it is today. And in 2008, we became the first new independent college in Vermont in a generation. Now, what has happened since then has grown into a much larger vision of creating a National Center for the Arts right here in Montpelier on this campus. We're renowned for our writing programs. We offer an MFA in writing and an MFA in writing for children and young adults, both of which are considered among the tops of their kinds in the country. Wally Lamb is a graduate of our MFA in writing program, who a lot of your viewers may know, and he still to this day comes to a dorm over here to finish his novels, and because of the place that he associates with great creativity. But what happens here is students come every 6 months, and we have what we think of as sort of a great gathering of writers. 200-300 writers come in at a time, and they're here. They stay here on campus. They live in Montpelier. They are in workshops together, lectures. And then when they're not here, they're working one-on-one with a faculty advisor on a novel, a collection of short stories, a book of poetry, and they're required to finish a book in order to graduate. This program is really about individual artists. It's about individual writers, now musicians, designers, soon-to-be filmmakers, visual artists. It's about the idea that there are people all around this world who are working individually in their fields, and we bring them together into a community. And when they're here, they work together, they live together. They probably party too much together. They're together all day long. But at the end of it, it's, the interesting thing about being a writer and being an artist is that it's a combination of sort of intense solitude it takes to create the work, but community is also important. And that's what happens right here in Montpelier as people come together into a community. When I first moved here, someone once told me they had to be careful driving around on the back roads here because you might hit a novelist, that they're all over the roads like deer, So there are just numbers of writers all around here. I mean, at one point there was actually a literary map to Montpelier that showed you where people lived. Howard Frank Mosher is someone who comes to mind, who really is in many ways the quintessential Vermont novelist. He writes about Vermont, and he has maple syrup in his veins, and he's just a terrific writer, and he lives locally here. Obviously, Catherine Patterson, who is on our board of trustees and is very close to the college, is is a national ambassador for children's literature and is best known for her work, Bridget Terabithia, which is a remarkable young adult novel. It's really a remarkable novel in any way, and I think there is a real core anchor. It's one of those like odd literary cultures and places where people gather that, in the northeast part of the country, you'd have to probably go to Brooklyn, New York to get as close, and that's a very big place. I think part of it is that people draw inspiration from the magnificent landscape we have around us. The other thing I think, particularly for writers, is that unlike a lot of places, we're a web of small towns. We're a front porch culture, not a backyard culture. So you get to know your neighbors, you rely on your neighbors, you learn how to work together, to depend on each other. And from that comes the heart of what makes good stories, because you know people, so you know what happens in their lives. And there are not many communities in America like that anymore, sadly, I think, that both have the scale, scope, size, and the kind of big sense of community, and that we're all in this together. We're a unique town in that we have independent bookstores, which are disappearing all across the country. We have an independent college. We have a 1905 independent art cinema house. I think we have a magnificent library in town here. I have a 6-year-old daughter. She's the kids here. The library is a hub of their lives. We grow readers from from the time they're little until they're bigger. You know, we have all the cultural things you could have in a big city, in a town that really only has 8,000 people. And so that's extraordinary and very unique. You know, people matter, stories matter, institutions matter. I mean, the only reason to start a college is because you can do things with, it takes other people to do things you can't do by yourself. And so, you know, I think what we're doing right now here on this campus is entirely unique. I think you have to go back to the 1930s and 1940s in Black Mountain College to find a place, a small place on a hillside that has such centrality to the arts. I mean, we are bringing the top, you know, writers, musicians now, designers, visual artists, and in a year from now we'll start with filmmakers, and maybe we'll branch into dance and other areas. All this little campus in Montpelier, Vermont. And this has become sort of an essential gateway, if you will, for the larger culture. It's just very exciting, and what gets me up every day and makes me want to come in here to this old building in my third floor office.